Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to automate Summit Racing's login page. So let's go ahead and go there. Okay, this is Summit Racing. This is actually like a personal favorite of mine, but hey, let's get down to business. So let's go into sign in/account. And down here you see sign in. Let's go to sign in. So what we'll do is we just want to use the URL. We don't need to actually use the WebDriver to click all of those buttons, which we can, but this is faster. So let's zoom in a bit and let's identify the web elements we'll need. So we have our email address and password and then sign in. So let's go ahead and take a look. We'll inspect. Okay, so we don't see ID. Oh, we do see ID. Well, okay, so we do see ID, but that's for the span. That's not actually the input field. So we want the input field. So we could do an XPath or a name, but I'm going to go with name. Now let's take a look at the password. Okay, same thing with password. Very conveniently, creatively enough, it's named password. So, okay, we could click the show hide. We could, but there's no need. Okay, and then let's check our sign in button. Okay, so we are going to have to use a XPath for this. Now we could use the class name, like find the element by the class name, but we'll have to see if that's used anywhere else. Okay, so primary button is used 63 times, so this is not a good choice because another element could receive the click. So we'll have to build an XPath for this. Probably do by tag, by class, and then by value. Okay, so let's go ahead and get over into C#. Let me move this over. Okay, so what we want to do first is we want to create a C# class that represents this sign-in page. So we're going to take this variable page and we're going to just copy it. So if you guys are new here, this is just a template and we're going to build our page very similar to this. So we'll take this, we'll copy this template, and we'll paste it. And I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call it Summit Racing Login Page. Let's copy that name so we can name our class, name our constructor. Okay, let me zoom in a bit. Anybody's looking on their phone. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify our web elements. And we have 3: email, password, and the sign-in button. So the first thing we want to do is we want to name this email input by, and we want to change this to name because we're going to find the email input by the name attribute. So let's go ahead and change this one here. So what I'm doing is the web element is sharing the same by. So we're using the email input by object as the driver.find element argument. So, and we're doing that because these object types have different methods available to them. So here, let's go ahead and continue and I will show you. So let's see, name of element. So this is going to be the email input field. So email input. Okay, and so we need to do the same thing for the password. So we'll name this password input by password input element. Could use autocomplete there. So we'll say password input element, and we want to be sure to put that there. So finally, copy this one more time. We're going to need this to be the sign in. Sign in button by, and this is going to be the sign in button by, and then we're going to change this to be the element of the sign in button. So sign in button element. Now this isn't named. This one here is going to be an XPath. And let's see. Okay, so I believe this one was just password. And let's double check for our XPath and our email address. This one was just email address. That's great. So this is just email address. So now we're going to get creative with the XPath. Let's take a look. So, okay, so for our XPath, we're going to want to do input. Okay, we're going to want to use 3 attributes inside of our XPath. We're going to want to find all elements in the DOM that have a tag of input. Then, of those elements that have a tag of input, we want to find ones that have a class of one of these classes. I'll probably choose primary button. And then finally, of all the elements that have an input tag and a class of primary button, which one has a value that is sign in? So let's build that XPath here. Give me 1 second. It's path for input and then primary button. Value will be sign in. So let's bring this over. Okay, so something like this. Here, hold on, let me get rid of these. Okay, now let me put them back. Tries to escape it. Okay. So I think, let me fix the casing. So primary button. Okay, yeah. Actually here, let me just copy this. Okay. Okay, so an input that contains the class primary button and the value is sign in. Okay, that should be it. Okay, so next we need our methods. So we'll just call this login, and we need to we're going to need to pass in an email and password. So you guys, you want to store your passwords in a secure location like a key vault. So don't get into the habit of storing your passwords locally. You know, so I just had to say that. Okay, so for what we're going to be waiting on is we're going to be waiting on the email input by. So then the name of the element that we will be clicking is also the email input element. So we're not going to be clicking this, we're going to be sending keys. We need to change this method to a different signature, and we will say send keys. We're going to send in the email. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is after we've sent our email, we need to send our password. So we're going to wait until visible for the password input by. Autocomplete. And very similar, we're going to send keys to the password input element, and we're going to send the password. So I'll autocomplete that. And then finally, we want to wait until the sign in button is visible, and then we want to click the sign in button. So almost, I'm going to autocomplete it, but I'm just going to change this to click. Should have kept those parentheses. Okay, so now our page class is done. So let's double check. All right, everything looks good. Let's clean that up a little bit. Okay, let's zoom out. This is about what our class looks like. So we could add more methods here if we wanted to do some searching, but we're just gonna log in. Okay, so now that we have our page class, we need the test. So let's go to our example test, and we're going to copy our example test and repurpose it for Summit Racing. So we'll call it Summit type Racing login test. Okay, so let's change our class name to match the file name. Okay, so we'll need to pull in the Summit Racing page that we just created, so we have access to the methods. So Summit Racing login page. We'll just call this Summit Racing. Now we need to create a new instance of the object. So let's go ahead and, similar to this variable page, we need to Summit Racing. So we're going to be referencing this object here, which is this class. So we're creating a new instance of the object. So new Summit Racing login page, and it's going to take a driver as one of its arguments. So the driver is the Chrome driver. In this case, it's the Chrome driver. It could also be the Gecko driver, which is Firefox, but this is just going to be the Chrome driver. Okay, so now let's give our test a meaningful name. Sign into Summit Racing. And we'll have to change our URL here. So hey guys, listen, you should check out the school community, Breaking the Tech. I go into a lot more examples. We do much deeper dives. So check it out. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need this login page, its URL. Okay, so let's replace this with that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, very simple, and we're almost ready to run our test, is we need to call Summit Racing and then log in. But first, actually, excuse me, we need to add our password. So email is going to be fake email, don't spam summit at ilovecars.com. And then our password test. So let's run it. Right click and run tests. Give that a second. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Awesome.